But Dad, all my friends are gonna be there.
I know, son. But if all your friends were named Cliff, would you jump off them? I don't think you would. You see, Jimmy, Jimmy, Jim James, son, let me tell you a little about rockets. Oh, they're big people things, son. And you just can't go around playing with big people, fiery, flying things. Because that's what rockets are. Rockets are flying things. Well, I hope this talk has helped. Oh, and by the way, Mom says you're grounded. Sorry!
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ and with me, as always, my co-host, boy genius turned man, Mr. James O'Reilly.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies I've seen in theaters and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube, leave that 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's how you help the channel grow. And Jim, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching Jimmy Neutron for a very specific reason. And that reason is
You're a monster.
I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. Jim, I knew you were going to be upset about this tonight, so I recorded an apology message in anticipation of the dark dreariness that is ahead. Would you like to hear this apology?
yeah, I mean, I guess so. It's the least you could do.
It is, and I just want you to know this is very heartfelt from me. So.
Look, you have to believe me. This was a stupid decision, but I did it with the best intentions.
I did it with the best intentions, Jim.
Did you, though? Did you?
Listen, 11-year-old TJ, we have to remember he was still 11 years old. He was getting bought in to the 2001 animated sci-fi film Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, directed by John A. Davis and written by, and you never like to see a movie having 4 or more writers. And were written by John A. Davis with David N. Weiss and J. David Stem and Steve Oedekerk. Just a lot of Davids and Davises and Steves all over the place. You never like to see it. And it features the voice talents of Debbie Derryberry. That is just such an unfortunate last name for Jimmy Neutron, as well as somehow corralling Patrick Stewart and Martin Short into this movie as well.
Did you say starring Patrick Stewart?
Yes. Yes, I did.
I guess yeah, I mean, I guess he's playing like the big antagonist, right? So I guess that counts as starring. I think it's starring Miss Derryberry.
Well, definitely starring Miss Derryberry, but I think that's just how we should refer to Jimmy Neutron for the rest of this, is just Miss Derryberry.
I don't know. That's good. Sounds like a lot of work. A lot of remembering.
I remember for Derryberry. Oh man, I wonder the country of origin for that family name.
It's got to be like English or Scottish, right?
You would think, but who knows? Derryberry?
It sounds so English.
Of all the names they could have changed coming over, they're like, nah, I think Derryberry's gonna hold.
Yeah, it's cool. It's easy to say. It rhymes.
Or imagine it's not even her last name. She's like, I just think this is a really good stage name.
It definitely feels like one of those like, so what's your name? And she's like looking around the room at stuff to come up with something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she lives in like Derry, Massachusetts, and then sees
Yeah.
like a berry like on the table. She's like, I am
Right.
Derryberry.
Exactly.
What's your
It
name,
sounds
kid?
so fake.
But as always, Jim, I know you love when it shows up. We've got the DVD right here, so we can turn to the back for a
Wait,
log line.
you mean you don't have a Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius steelbook?
Unfortunately, they have not taken the time to really upgrade Jimmy Neutron to the frame ratio that it deserves. So we're gonna have to stick with our DVD cover here right now for our log line in the back. And I gotta say, of all the movies that didn't need like 6 or 7 sentences to tell a story, Jimmy Neutron decided to use the entire back cover to spell out as much of this movie as they possibly can.
Yeah, but I bet you there's a lot of good puns. I think the pun count is going to be high on this one.
Oh, just wait, Jim. Are you ready for this bad boy?
Yes, sir.
And it reads, Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, is trying to make contact with an alien civilization. Unbeknownst to him, a satellite he launches, okay, it's the kitchen toaster, but it works, is picked up by an alien species. In the dark of night, the aliens fly their warships looking like a fleet of rubber chickens to Earth and abduct all the parents in Jimmy's hometown of Retroville. So it's up to Jimmy to create a fleet of spaceships from the rides at the town's new amusement park. Hey, he's a genius, remember? And launch them into orbit in a bid to rescue the abducted parents of Retroville. But Jimmy better hurry, because the aliens are preparing to use the parents as human sacrifices. With his robot dog Goddard and his best friend Carl by his side, Jimmy and the rest of the kids in Retroville take to the skies on a trip that's sure to be a blast. Why is that so long?
Lot of details during the routine. Lot of
Lot
details.
of details.
Lot
But
of
also, like,
details.
they say the town Retroville at least 3 times in that.
Yeah, I mean that I don't even need to watch the movie anymore. They just told me the whole thing. I could skip to the last 15 minutes and I'd be fine.
They pretty much were like, what should the log line be? All of Act One. What? Just write it.
Yeah, just, just we got this whole back of this DVD. We're filling it up, baby.
We're filling it with everything. And it literally takes up the entire DVD. It is absolutely hilarious.
What was
You talk
that first one you did where you were like, he's got to launch a satellite? Okay, it's a toaster, but it works. That's my first suggested cut. They should get rid of that part.
They have so many in parentheses like needs to comment on the log line like they gave this to someone who's never written a log line in their life and they were like sum up the movie and he's like shit uh
So there's
he's a
like this
genius.
toaster and it's a satellite but it works though. It's good.
So like Adam Sandler is Jimmy Neutron. As far as DVD covers we've read, that one is pure insanity in a way that is completely unique to all of the other insane ones that we've gotten.
Yeah, that was a whole lot. I don't know,
Yeah, that
just a whole lot.
they could have just summed it up very easily with a decidedly odd young boy.
He is odd, dude. I think you can describe every movie character that way. He
Yeah,
is
I think
really
we're gonna
odd.
have to. And for this movie, Jimmy Neutron is the decidedly odd boy, for all pretense and purposes in this movie. So Jim, I gotta ask, you've been very not happy about seeing this week. So we're gonna go to memories, and I gotta wonder, were you a fan of Jimmy Neutron as a kid, the TV show, and then also, did you see this movie in theaters?
I remember liking the show as a kid. I think I was kind of aging out of it by the time this movie came out, and I don't honestly know how long into the show it was, but just in my brain, it feels like I was too old for Jimmy Neutron by the time this came out.
A
But
real
I think I
mature
did see
11-year
it.
old over here.
Yeah, I think I did see it. Though. That is absolutely a pot shot at you, by the way. That is exactly what I'm going for. No, I, I had younger siblings, so I think like my younger brother probably would have wanted to go see this too when this came out, you know?
Yeah. So
So I
wait,
think
so
we went, yeah, I think we went as like as a family.
all right, so we did go for the family movie, so Jimmy Neutron. I did as well. Rounded up the whole family for this one. Surprisingly, not the birthday movie. This came out even after the previous week's movie, Lord of the Rings. So unfortunately, I think this probably was the family Christmas movie. It was rounding everyone up and putting my poor parents through Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
after
so the only other thing from the movie I remember is that there was a chicken at the end. That's it.
yes, yeah, I remember the chicken too. And then I remembered that he had like a robot dog. And I
Yeah,
remember
I
as a
didn't.
kid, I was like, I want a robot dog. Like that robot dog's pretty sick.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, you're not
Like
wrong.
like your robot dog just turns into like an air motorcycle. You're just like cruising through like the city streets. Like
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know if I want to get into it until we start talking about the movie, but what kind of douchebag travels like exclusively by jetpack?
yeah, right. No regulations on it. He's just got it strapped
It's
to his
like
backpack.
Jimmy, just get a bike or something. Jesus.
Right? And talk about bringing concealed weapons into school. He's bringing these like huge grade jetpack, like rocket infusion. He's just got it in his backpack.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Absolutely absurd. Yeah, quite a movie. And now having watched it again, as an adult now for this, I feel like I need to issue an apology to my parents for having to sit through that when I was a
Yeah,
kid, because I now understand the pain they probably were sitting through making it through that movie for me. So to my
yeah,
parents, I apologize. I'm not going to give you your $40 back for taking us, but
yeah.
I
Of
do
course not.
apologize.
But, you said something in there that I think is interesting. You said that it came out after the Lord of the Rings.
Believe so, right?
I think we should clear that up in the box office because I'm looking at something here that might say different.
Ooh, I feel like I don't know. Then I guess I remembered it wrong when we were doing last week's one, and he was falling into the box office. So, let's not waste any more time, Jim. Correct me as I'm wrong, and let's dive into some box office numbers.
Numbers, dates, numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right. So what you got wrong is that it comes out the same weekend as Lord of the Rings.
Ah, I see. Well, at least I
Because you
was
probably saw
smart
Lord of the
enough.
Rings first.
Yeah, at least I was smart enough to see Lord of the Rings first and not Jimmy. I was the only schmuck on the block. Everyone's like, "We're going to see Lord of the Rings." Going to see Jimmy Neutron, losers.
Yeah. So we talked about this week a lot with Lord of the Rings. I'm just gonna stick with the headline here, which is that Jimmy Neutron comes in third place.
Ow, couldn't even take second? Was
Yeah,
second
no.
a new movie too, or was it a weekend from previous?
No, so second place is in week 3. It's Ocean's 11,
Ah, of course, of course. Dude, how did
which
I not
is
go see that in theaters? Like, what was wrong with me?
yeah, I don't know. I don't think I saw that one in theaters either, but that was one I watched like when it came out on home video, basically immediately, and then watched it like 5 more times because
But
it was
yeah,
so good.
we watched that a lot because then by the time Ocean's 12 comes out, we were all aboard and we were seeing all those in theaters.
Yeah, for sure. But so yeah, so Ocean's 11 is in second place, which makes a lot of sense. It's a really popular movie. It's only in its third week and it's a holiday weekend. It's like December 21st to the 23rd, so like a lot of people aren't working, yada yada, right? Um Jimmy Neutron though comes in third with 13.8 million behind Ocean's 11's 14.7, and we talked a whole bunch about Lord of the Rings opening week. And we also
13,
highlighted a bunch of other movies that came out this weekend last week. So we're not going to go
13.
too much into week 1.
Yeah, we don't need to go too deep into the woods, but that 13 is just good enough to keep it from being the bottom of the barrel. So it will slide in just ahead of our big loser, which was Black Knight with 11.2. So it's going to sit just ahead of that now, that 13, and just behind A Knight's Tale with 16.5. So these last few episodes, we've been really seeing the bottom of the barrel as far as some opening weekends go.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we're going to talk more about these next couple of weeks where Jimmy Neutron is going to do things that you see these holiday movies do a lot, but to much less of an extent, right? So, in week 2, Jimmy Neutron's pulling in 15 million even. Which it's like not a drop. It goes up 8.7%.
So at
And
least
again,
that's a win right there for a movie because that's not a lot of movies do that.
yeah, and again, cashing in on this December 28th to the 30th weekend. So New Year's Eve is that Monday. So like a lot of people have 5-day weekends. So it makes a lot of sense. You bring your kids to a movie during a long weekend. Week 3, it's gonna have a 40% drop and fall down to fourth place with 9 million. And then let's just ride it out of the top 10 here. Week 4, it's in sixth place with 5.5 million. In week 5, it is out of the top 10 with
Ooh.
2.8 million.
So 4 weeks in the top 10. It's continuing our theme. It did just enough to keep it from the last place spot. Our last place is still Black Knight with 3 weeks. So now it's going to sit just ahead of Black Knight with 4 weeks and just behind A Knight's Tale with 5 weeks.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty bottom of the barrel, but let's talk totals, right? So it finishes with domestic 81 million if we round up, international 22 million, and worldwide that brings it to 102. Let's call it 103 even. 103 million against a $30 million budget. So kind of a success for Nickelodeon. You know what I mean? They're not putting a ton of money into this, and they're getting like 4 times their return, like their budget. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, so as far as the budget goes, that's still a success for them. At least charting on our list here, it is once again finishing out the trifecta, the hat trick here. Stays just ahead of Black Knight's last place with 39.9, just behind A Knight's Tale with 117.5.
So
So
I mean, not really a blockbuster for sure.
yeah, yeah, certainly not a blockbuster, but in the likes of Disney, in the likes of Paramount and Nickelodeon, who are putting in, smart investments of not over bloated budgets, they're making a decent return here.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning they're making a decent return by we've talked about counter programming a few times. Like they're saying like, well, okay, Ocean's 11's like a cool movie. Lots of cool people are seeing that. Lord of the Rings is maybe going to be one of the biggest movies ever. And then, it's like, well, what, but if we just put this dumb kids movie out, people are going to have to take their kids to it. We'll be okay. like,
Uh, Like there's so many families with young kids that'll be too scared for the fellowship, and mom ain't letting dad take the boys to Ocean's 11. So like, what's left is Jimmy Neutron.
yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, it does pretty well for itself, all things considered.
It might have made its budget back at least for that, but critically, honestly, Jim, though, critically, I was a little surprised because I was looking up some critical reviews as I was looking at this, and
Yeah.
they weren't terrible scores. Like this movie didn't get lambasted. Like certainly it wasn't getting reviewed like stellar reviews, but it wasn't like I think I was reading one, Roger Ebert gave
Yeah,
it a
what did
decent
Ebert
review.
say?
I don't remember the one offhand, like the actual star rating that he gave it, but I'm pretty sure he gave it a 3 out of 4. And he's one of those ones that he won't, put everything on its same playing field. Like he'll review a movie for the people that would be interested in this movie. So like he's
Yeah.
taking it as if it's like, you know what you're getting at to see a dumb like kids movie.
Well,
But
right, because if you're reading Roger Ebert's review of Jimmy Neutron, it's because you're seeing if you should take your kids to it. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
like he's letting you know if you should do that.
Exactly. And yeah, I pulled it up just now here. And yeah, he gave it 3 out of 4. It says it doesn't have the bite of Shrek and Monsters Inc., where there's fun for grown-ups, but adults who appreciate the art of animation may enjoy the look of the picture. And that cracks me up because my first note, as we'll dive in here, is that I absolutely abhor the animation in this movie. I
Yeah,
couldn't stand it.
I mean, this is one of those things where it's kind of like a sign of the times. Like at the time, there wasn't a lot of 3D animation that looked this good on TV.
Yeah, like I'm sure back then, it looked and was pretty like revolutionary because again, we're only in 2001, so the art form is really still in its infancy. But watching it back now, I couldn't stand it. Like I'm watching it, I'm just like, dude, this is just glaringly just like gross. Like I just don't like how
You know,
anyone looks in this.
the worst is when anyone at all walks. Like any of the
Yeah.
kids walk. I'm like, oh, it's so weird.
And like they're just so weird looking. And I'm like, I can't stand the animation in this. So that was like one of the whole time I'm watching this, I can never fully get invested in it because every time like we do anything, I'm just like, I just dislike how this looks.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it definitely did not age well.
Yeah, it has not aged well. I think one of the better things that's aged for it, I will, to play devil's advocate too, though. I think Goddard the dog looks solid, and I like the design of the like poultry people, whatever the hell those goddamn aliens are called, like the yolk
Yeah.
Civilization, I think those look good, but they're more designed to be cartoony. Like the human characters are what are so off-putting to me about some of them. Like it's just
Yeah.
odd.
Well, they've those aliens feel like they're designed to be easy to animate. They're basically just green blobs. Like that's it.
Yeah.
So like that. So like yeah, I did like. I mean, I don't know. It's the human beings look really weird though. Yes, they look like really, really insanely weird.
Yeah, they're just odd. I This was one of those movies too, is I love like an opening scene is always make it or break it. For a movie where you're sitting in where you'll sit down for a movie and there's that 5 second lull before the movie starts and you're just so on the edge of your seat wondering, am I gonna get something good here? Or like what are they gonna give me? And the way this movie opens is so goddamn silly.
It's
Like,
so stupid.
it's so dumb. Like, and also like
Like
they
he gets
never
picked up on
explain.
like the U.S. government's
Yeah.
radar. It's so,
Yeah, like they're just scrambling fighter jets to get this unidentified aircraft, and it's just Jimmy Neutron and Carl, who were just at the spur of the moment decided he needed to like launch a toaster satellite into space.
yeah. Yeah, and he's like, sorry about your like, oh, sorry about your antiques. He like calls like the
Yeah.
fighter jets like
Oh,
antique planes.
this
It's so
antique.
ridiculous.
And he's made his out of like just fucking spare parts around his house. It's like, bro, this kid is such a schmuck.
Yeah, but he's blowing him out of the water, dude. He's got such a better he's got such a better plane.
Yeah, until he gets into the atmosphere, the outer atmosphere, and everything starts going to shit. I also like one of the things they never explain, and again, I don't need it explained because I'm just like, it's just a dumb kids movie. Like, why are you thinking about it too much? But the fact that they go to space and not one of like all of their rockets and everything are exposed. Like none of them are confined. They're all in like
Yeah,
convertibles. And
it's
none of them
this
have helmets on or anything. They're just
dude.
fucking talking in space like it's no big deal.
That was maybe the only part of the movie I liked. Like they got into space, and the whole time I was thinking, I'm like, wait, like are they just like where are they going? They don't have any like helmets on. There's no like cockpit. Like they can't just go into space. This is good. They're all gonna die immediately. And then they get there, and the movie is just like, psych. We don't even give a shit. Like it's
They're
just like
like, who? They're
they
like,
can
no,
breathe in space. What are you gonna do about it?
barely breathe, but they're having like full on conversations. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, dude, like this kid's supposed to be a genius, and you're telling me in this universe, just like anyone can just breathe in outer space. I'm like, this is
Yeah, because
insane.
they're just allowed to, dude. They can do whatever they want, and as long as they commit to it hard, like I'm all in. I'm all in. I'd much rather them do what they did than come up with some like stupid cockamamie like plot device to do it. You know what I
But
mean?
no, so do I. I think that's one of the funnier bits that had me like laughing. That I was like, I can get behind this one. Like, this is like a good silly because it's just
Yeah,
like it's so small stakes. Like who cares? Like, yeah, they could breathe in space. Move on. We're moving on.
yeah.
Like
But it
it's
did stick out to me. Like I was like getting all hyped up for how they were gonna figure that part out, and then they just didn't do anything, and I thought that was really funny.
because the first time it happens, like in the beginning, when him and Carl go up to launch the toaster, like I was kind of like I'm sitting here trying to rationalize it. I'm like, all right, maybe they're in the outer atmosphere, like maybe you could get away with it.
Yeah, sure.
And then later on, they launch into space with like roller coaster rides, and I'm like, I think I'm thinking too much into this.
Yeah. That was a good bit too, and the kids that are on like the octopus like tilt-a-whirly kind of thing are like, "Can we trade?"
Yeah, and the one kid's in like what I don't know what that ride was, where like just their head is in the restraint. And it's just
Yeah,
spinning in
yeah.
circles. And it's like, dude, what is that ride? Who would ever build that?
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, like once they got going in this movie, I was kind of in for some of it, honestly. But like the problem is the part we're talking about right now is like an hour into a hour and 22-minute movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of unnecessary setup like in the beginning that's just like torture at times. Like once he comes back down in the rocket and he launches Carl off to school and then he just goes home and has like this huge like long thing with his parents. It's like, bro, don't you need to be at school too? Like, why are you going home? Why are we doing all of this?
Yeah, well, because he was gonna use his bouncy ball to get there, dude.
Oh yeah, he's gotta get his bouncy ball. The
No,
show.
I don't even mind the part you're talking about though, like the part where he goes home, because like the whole like it's kind of a like overdone thing, like where the parents go missing and then the kids realize it's not so great without the parents and then they go like get them back. Like but like you kind of need that beginning stuff if you're going to make that what your movie's about. Um so like I didn't mind the setup. What I minded in like the first like half hour 45 minutes of this movie was they did like 8 different montages like of just
Uh,
nothing,
yeah.
like them like they were where they would play music and it would just be like kids like going here and then going there and then Jimmy's doing this, like none of it had anything to do with anything.
What was funny is that the music was it wasn't like any actual music. It was music they made that just had the singer singing about whatever was happening. Did you notice that? They had like some songs where there was like he's going to catch the bus. It's like what is
Dude,
happening?
I like just tuned it out. I would have sworn that they played like 10 early 2000 hit songs.
They
Like
did that too. There was plenty of those, but
okay.
there's like 2 or 3 of them in that opening where like if you listen, they're just singing about like shit he's doing.
Yeah, which
It's
is so
so
wild.
absurd. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
we already know that he's a genius just off the fact that he built a fucking rocket that took him into outer space. But then they give us the whole montage where he's just got all the appliances to help him get ready for school. It's like, yeah, we get it, dude. Like he's a smart guy. Like he's coming up with cool shit. Like
Yeah, I mean, the name of the movie is Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. I know that before I even sit down. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can skip over a bunch of that.
it's so
But it also, like, I kind of get what they're doing because it's like it's a kids' movie. So you just, like, play some songs that they like and then you make them, like, watch silly shit happen or fun shit happen on screen. You know what I mean?
it's one of those ones that is not at like you look at like Pixar ones and some of the better of the Disney ones that use the animation to lull the kids in, but still have this grand story that, brings parents in. And then you have the movies like this that are just common denominators. They're just like, what is just silly shit that kids like? We're gonna throw that in there. Like they like weird, they like loud pop music. Throw that in there. Like they just want to see him doing some silly things. Like throw that in there. And it never
Yeah.
feels like anything was coalesced to tell like an actual story. It was just like, let's just go the easiest route we can to lull these kids for like 90 minutes.
Yeah. You know what movie you're basically describing right now?
Which one?
The Super Mario Brothers movie.
It was literally, I was thinking
Yeah,
that. I was like, yeah, yeah, any Illumination movie is pretty much like that. Like the Minions is like that. They just have the needle drops with just noise behind it.
yeah. I don't know. It just reminded me so much of the Super Mario Brothers movie because I've seen so many people like holding it to this like ridiculously high standard. And my philosophy has always been like, it's like a kids movie, and this Jimmy Neutron is maybe the prototypical movie where it's like, yeah, this is what kids movies are, guys, this is what kids movies are. Like this is what they are. So if Super Mario Brothers is a kids movie, I don't expect that much.
Like I expect it to be like that. And granted, Super Mario Brothers does it way better than this movie because at least the Mario Brothers movie is entertaining.
I mean, it
Um,
looks a lot better too.
yeah, and it looks a lot better. Whereas this one, not nearly as much entertaining. There was only a few things throughout this movie that managed to make me chuckle. You played one in the intro. The dad, his lines got me. Like they just made him just some dumb idiot dad. Like when we first meet him in the morning and he's just making breakfast and then he finds like the duck toy in there and he's just like quack 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 and he's just like starts like he can't think of anything else other than the duck in front of his wife. I'm like, dude, this guy
Yeah.
is a bumbling clown. And I know why they do that is to make it look that like it's so weird that his kid is like a genius. Like, how did that happen? He's got like a regular mom and this bumbling idiot for a dad.
Yeah, I mean that's also another big trope on sitcoms. Like we talked about this
Well,
with The
yeah,
Black Knight a little bit, like where you need to have like your main character be an idiot. Like sitcoms always go that route with the dad. Like the dad is always just kind of dopey.
well, like I wonder if somebody watched this and they were like, "This is what we can make this," and then they made The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon, and it's like that's what this is.
I guess I don't know. Like the people were doing that before this movie came out, dude.
Oh, I know,
For
yeah,
sure.
no, this is a time tested plot device, and we talk a lot about when you can make tropes work, they feel great, and when you can't make them and you're just using the cliches, how you can feel them. One of these movies is how you can feel it at every step, where you're like, all right, we're doing the bumbling dad idiot trope. Like, all right, what else you got? Like,
Yeah, and I think what makes it work for me in this movie is that the dad is like his voice is so unique and it makes it just I don't know, it makes it like so much better for me.
yeah, he's definitely one of the better presences that we see, at least in this. I did get a chuckle out of the when he goes in. It's like, honey, did you leave the green light on in the kitchen again?
Yeah,
You dumb fuck.
yeah. Like there is no green light. He
Also,
just
like, did you notice that they had like the restaurant revolving door as like their kitchen door? Like it wasn't a regular door. It was like one of those like saloon doors that goes in and out.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It was like, what? Why?
Very Brady Bunch. I feel like they had that on the Brady Bunch too.
Very, yeah, very Brady Bunch.
I think that's part of them living in Retroville.
Which, yeah, what a name for a town.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
what?
because it's supposed to be like the 50s, right? Isn't that the idea?
Is it though? Like I don't. They
I
thought they have
think
like they had like
that's
cell phones, didn't they? Yeah,
well,
like
no,
well,
but like that's why it's Retroville. Like it exists in present day, but like the aesthetic is like very 50s, you know?
so it's like we know you love nostalgia, so we're making nostalgia towns now.
Yeah, exactly,
It's like
exactly.
Pleasantville.
I mean, yeah, basically. They have that like little like soda pop or whatever they used to call them.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. There is like the soda pop hangout that they hang out in that one scene.
Yeah.
After like
And
all
Nick
the
is like
parents
very clearly
disappear.
a greaser, you know what I mean?
Dude, Nick, one of the sillier bad boys that you see in this. I got a huge chuckle out of watching him make fun of and call the three of them dweebs for not wanting to sneak out of the parents' house while he
Yeah.
was wearing a helmet while skateboarding. It was like, yeah, dude, you're a real bad boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a bad boy. He's not stupid.
Get
Like,
out of here.
it's, you gotta wear a helmet, dude.
Listen, if this is Retroville, you're not wearing a helmet, right? Do
I
what
don't
you're
know if anybody is skateboarding if it's Retroville, you know what I mean? But that's why he's too cool for that. That's why Nick's
too
so
cool.
cool.
He's like, I'm a new age man in an old age town.
So stupid.
So
Yeah.
dumb.
Dude, I think one of my favorite parts of this is that their whole plan for when they get to the alien planet is that Nick's just gonna fight all of them.
Yeah, like they've never seen the aliens. They have no idea what they're getting
Yeah,
into. And their
like
whole
they're like,
plan rests on Nick just beating the shit out of all of them. It's like, dude, what if there's like
yeah,
millions of them? Like what? Like
he's like, just get me there. I'll take care of the rest. Like,
uh,
it's like, are you sure, Nick? Like,
and
Jesus, man,
then
that's a lot
and
of
then
pressure.
he just makes like the punching motion like with his fists. He's like, I'll
Yeah,
take them. It's like, dude, what are you talking about?
dude, and he got did dirty at the end of this movie too. He goes up to fight the giant chicken monster and freaks out because it's a like 12-story tall giant chicken monster. Like, of course he freaked out.
All
And then
right.
they were like trying to like downplay him, like, oh, you're my hero. Like he was such a wimp for running away. It's like, dude, he did the right thing.
They're like, you're telling me this 12-year-old kid didn't want to fight this 30-story chicken? Like fucking pussy.
Yeah, with like a 3-foot spear. It's like, I don't think he's gonna win, guys.
So dumb. It's so silly. We talking about, we've been going on about tropes and in this movie, and this is a trope that Nickelodeon especially has gone to the well for a few of its movies. The SpongeBob movie also comes to mind that we saw when we were kids, and
Yeah.
that's the kids eating junk food and soda as if it's like them getting hammered
Oh, yeah, yeah,
bit,
yeah.
because like when it shows the whole montage of them just partying now that like parents are gone, and they're just at the school just like housing candy and just downing soda, and then it's the next morning and they're all rolling like they all passed out at the school outside in the grass, and like they're rolling over like, oh my stomach, and like Nick
Yeah.
is standing over Jimmy and he's like, I remember my first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
So I
dude.
mean it had some good bits in there, which is like the part that it's like I'm enjoying talking about them more than I did watching them though.
Same, because like going
Which
over the
is
bits, I'm
crazy.
like, they're funny bits. But watching the movie the whole time, I was like, dude, this is torturous.
It was, and like that was a plus. It was only an hour and 22 minutes long, but it felt like it was over 2 hours, dude. It felt so
Yeah,
long.
especially in the later, like once they get to whatever the fuck the planet is and they're going through their whole thing and then they have to get like captured and everything. I was literally like, can we just put a bow on it? Like, can you just fight the chicken and we'd be done with this? Like,
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, like, I, we've said a lot of nice things, and like, spoiler alert, I'm gonna give this a really bad score. So I feel like I should hone in on a little bit of the bad, which is like, yeah, it felt really long, mostly because it was really boring and like none of the stuff that was happening was interesting, and it all felt like. Do you remember those BoJack Horseman episodes when they would like go back in time and like it would be like we're in a very 2000 song, like, you know what I mean? Like it would be like
yes.
like it felt like that song was playing for the whole movie. You know what I mean? Like,
And then talk about like just criminally wasting Patrick Stewart and Martin Short. Like,
yeah, for real. That's got to be one of those movies where it's like, well, I have kids now. Like,
well, this is because this is 2001 and Family Guy, he started doing the CIA agent on Family Guy in what? Like Family Guy started was like 99. So maybe like he got a case of the I like doing the voice work because it's easy and I get like an easy paycheck from it.
yeah, I mean, right, actors do that all the time. Like voice works, like you said, it's much easier. You get pretty good money and you just kind of like sit there and record stuff and then go home.
So like they were like, you want to do Jimmy Neutron? Like it's gonna take like 45 minutes to record your lines. We'll give you like
Yeah,
500 grand. And you're just like, yeah,
that's
fuck.
a,
Why
that's
not?
a good point. Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, he only has like what, like he's in the movie for what, like 10-15 minutes tops.
Hops, yeah.
He could do that in like a week. You know what I mean? Just record
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Probably was like nothing for him. You show up into a nice conditioned studio, sit there with your drink and just like bang those out. It's probably like the fucking best day working ever.
Yeah, and I don't know if he has kids, but that's always a thing. Like actors like doing movies that their kids will want to go see.
Yeah. Especially ones that like usually do like more adult fare. So they're like, I want to be able to do one for like that the kids can actually go watch.
Yeah, you're not taking your like 5-year-old to go see any of the Star Trek movies, right? Like
I don't know. I guess it would depend on the parent.
Star Trek Nemesis. It's pretty.
Because
It's
yeah,
pretty.
because I'm not gonna lie, like my parents took me to many movies I probably shouldn't have seen until much later. So
Dude, what's that one? There's one of those really good Star Trek movies. I think it's the one Jonathan
first
Frakes directed.
first contact, the one with the Borgs, right?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that First Contact is the really good one.
They
Yeah.
basically make Patrick Stewart an action hero. Like they have him like his shirt gets ripped at one point, and he's just like shredded, like, and he's just like fighting the
Yeah.
Borg assimilators. Like, it's like, dude, this
Dude,
movie's
he's
fucking wild. But yeah, I think the second half, especially of this movie, to tailor us back to Jimmy Neutron, really is where you start to feel that length. Because you're just
yeah.
at that point, I'm just like, you put a bow on it, especially because it's so there's no good like actual decision making being done. Like it just continues its theme of being as low scale and low rent as possible. Like they're just like, what's our plan? We're gonna go to space and Nick's gonna beat them up. And then they get there, immediately get captured. And then they're like, what's the plan? We're gonna get out of here and Nick's gonna beat them up. Like this,
Yeah.
it's just the same. Like you're just like, oh dude, just fucking let Nick beat him up and let's end this already.
Yeah, let's just cut to the chase then. That's fine.
I am very curious as to who we could possibly deep dive in with this.
Well, I'm gonna call you out for a second because I'm going with your suggestion this week.
You son
You're
of a
not
bitch.
curious at all.
You're not, man. Wow, totally undercut my good intro here.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch. That's what I
No,
get
I
for
need to
making him
give you
watch Jimmy
credit though.
Neutron.
I need to give you credit though because it's a good suggestion. Steve Oedekerk, I guess. I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Oedekerk. That sounds about right. We'll go with that.
Yeah. And so yeah, I don't know. He's got like a kind of interesting career. He gets around, so he seems to be like the best person to talk about in this without going to a voice actor who has like 1,000+ credits.
Damn it. So sorry, Derry Berry.
Yeah,
Derry Berry.
he gets a writing credit. He gets a screenplay credit on Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and he is, I think, like a lower build writer. So I don't know how much of this is actually his, and like, I mean, he got a credit, so it's got to be a good amount. Um, but I want to start with like a pretty great TV credit he has here.
Okay.
Um, he writes on 33 episodes of In Living Color, which is like
Oh wow,
probably
yeah,
pretty impressive, right?
that's very impressive. That's a big, good sketch comedy show from back then.
Yeah,
Wayne's Brothers, Jim Carrey.
yeah. Martin Lawrence was on that from Black Knight. He was on that for a while, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
So there's a all right. So I had to get that one out of the way. There's a couple of other writing credits here for stuff that I'm gonna assume you haven't heard of. Smart Alex and High Strung, 1992.
Never heard of those.
Yeah. And then in The Living Color, he works on in 92 and 93. Then 1995, he writes and directs a movie that I know is near and dear to your heart, Ace
What is it?
Ventura: When Nature Calls.
Oh, dude, talk about a movie near and dear to my heart. That makes so much sense now, that he wrote When Nature Calls, having worked on In Living Color before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Really, it does. Right. Because Jim Carrey was on In Living Color for a while, right?
Yeah. All right. So
Did you did you
quick.
ever see the lifeguard sketch he did?
Yeah, yeah. Where he,
Pretty
yeah,
sure
and
that
it's
was
like a
in
hot
Living
tub,
Color.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he was, dude. Jim Carrey was so fucking funny on that
He
show.
was great. All right, so yeah, he gets a writing and directing one on that one. I'm going to assume you'll take Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls in that head to head with Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he gets a screenplay credit on The Nutty Professor in '96.
All right.
97, some movie Nothing to Lose, which I am not familiar with.
Oh, I'm
There's
pretty
my
sure if you click on that, Jim, that might be your boy, Marty Lawrence.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's him and Tim Robbins. Dude, what?
Oh, dude, that sounds like a movie right there.
Yeah, that's wild.
So the only plot description I'm getting from here is one has no job, the other has no life. Together they have everything to gain and nothing to lose.
I mean, that sounds like a comedy to me. I don't know.
Oh my god, dude, that's so funny. It's like one of the funniest things about it. I need to watch this movie, man. How is this one? Tim Robbins, Martin Lawrence, like I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like it would be a good one to check out. Tim Robbins in the late '90s was crushing it, dude.
Yeah.
He was
And
really
dude, that was
great.
probably like either right after or right around Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, yeah,
Like imagine
probably
coming
right.
off Shawshank and you're like, what are you gonna do next? I'm doing this nothing to lose movie with Martin Lawrence. It's gonna be killer.
All right, so he writes and directs Nothing to Lose, like we just spoke about. There's a Jimmy Neutron thing that he's involved in 1998. He gets a written by on Jimmy Neutron Runaway Rocket Boy. So I wonder if he was like one of the creators. That seems
Probably.
like probably the first Jimmy Neutron thing, right?
Yeah, and it says it's a short, so they probably that was probably like their test thing to get funding to make a feature film. Like that was probably their pitch was to make that short and be like, hey, look what we can do. And they were
Yeah,
like, yeah, all
totally.
right, do it.
Yeah, and like that happened a lot with Nickelodeon shows back then. Hey Arnold had one of those too
Yeah.
that played in
Yeah, I
front
think
of another movie before it
a
got a
lot of them.
series. All right, so also in 1998, he gets a screenplay. He didn't direct this one. It's do you remember this Robin Williams movie, Patch Adams?
Oh yeah, that where he's the doctor, right? He's like the clown,
Yeah.
like he's always cheering up the kids on like death row.
Yep, that's the guy. I have a funny feeling that that movie does not hold up. But
Yeah, I haven't watched that movie in a long time, but I would be very curious to see how that movie plays if I watch it today.
yeah. And then just scrolling through some of the bigger ones here, he gets another story credit on Nutty Professor. Um, on Nutty Professor 2, I should say.
Well,
He
yeah,
gets
it'd
this
be
credit in
very
Jimmy Neutron, and then he writes and directs Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Interesting.
I also think he stars in this movie. I'm pretty sure he's the star of Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
This is his big attempt at becoming one of the latest writer, director, star.
Yeah. And then screenplay on Bruce Almighty. Do you remember the movie Barnyard in 2006?
Oh yeah, they're like animated, with like the cow, right? I think like the
Yeah,
cow is the main character, and
yeah,
he's always just up to shenanigans.
you got it.
Dude, what is this fucking guy?
That's really his last big like writer director credit. But there's a lot of writing credits in here. So he also got a story by credit on Cowboys and Aliens. That seems worth mentioning based on all the other things we just talked about.
It's just funny because that's so like completely different to like
That's what I
everything
mean.
else
Yeah,
you've
it's like
talked
way
about
out
here.
there.
Because like that's a really good movie. He had to have written that with
Haven't
other people. There's no way he wrote that.
he got his story by Screen
Okay.
Story. So I
All
don't
right,
even know
all
what
right,
that
all
means.
right. So he just helped break the story for the most part, probably.
Yeah.
All right, that makes more
Um,
sense.
and
Have
it
you
seems like
seen
that would be
Cowboys
a
and
better
Aliens
movie.
recently?
No, I've never seen it.
Well, we'll watch it, years from now on the podcast. But
Can't wait.
that's a good
Daniel Craig's in that, right? He's
yeah.
pretty great. I'm sure I would
Dan-
like it.
Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford. It's something. It's a very solid movie. But yeah, that's a very interesting career right there. Some very highbrow comedies, some interesting animated adventures here, and then helps write Cowboys and Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
What a move. All right, Bob Odenkirk. Interesting. You've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found wanting.
I'm Roger Ebert. Been a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
Well, I know it was to you, jerk off, but see if it is for us. Uh, sorry. Rest in peace, Raj. I didn't mean to call you a jerk off.
Roger's the greatest dude. Just take it back.
Raj, you are the greatest. I take it back. I'm sorry. I don't know what I thought. I'm just so lost in this movie. All right, Jim. Turning your attention to you first off here. Are we gonna get our next perfect movie so soon? I mean, I know we just did one with Lord of the Rings. We could be looking at a perfect 10 here again. So don't fuck this up. Final star ratings for Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius.
So I don't think it's gonna get a 10. I think it's gonna fall a bit short. Um, so I have a question that comes by way of my girlfriend who asked me this while we were watching it.
Okay.
Which, by the way, another movie she did not make it all the way through. She gave up like
I
in the
mean,
middle.
this one's a fair one. I can give this one to her turning out pretty early. Heather wouldn't even give it a shot. When I said I'm watching Jimmy Neutron, she's like, fuck off. Don't even ask me for these
Yeah.
things.
So the question is, are we allowed to give a movie a 0?
Ooh, that is a good question. I
That
mean,
was the question that she had. Like, what's the lowest score we can give something?
that is true. We never really specified if we wanted to fully have one be the bottom of the heap or if we could give it a 0.
Well,
Um,
if we do halves, 0.5 would have to be like the lowest. Like if it was an actual number, not 0. But I think giving something a 0 should be allowed. I don't think it'll happen very often, but I think it should be allowed.
I would agree with that. I'll concur on that one. I think zeros should be allowed to be in contention.
All right, so that answers the question.
Oh
Um,
no.
no, no, no. I'm not gonna give it a 0. I promise. I promise. It was just something that she brought up because she would give it a 0, and she was just curious if that was allowed.
Well, yeah, to walk out. I guess yes, because I think I would save zeros for like movies I couldn't finish.
Is that allowed? Can we not finish movies?
No, I just mean like that's how I used it whenever I was rating like movies on my own before
Oh,
before we did this.
okay.
I would heavily hope that we would try at all costs to finish ones, even if they are absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I thought we had to. That's why I was like, I got excited for a second. I was like, wait, you cannot finish them?
Oh
That's
no.
amazing.
On the
Okay.
pod, you must complete.
Okay. So anyway, long story short, this movie kind of stunk on ice, but there was some funny bits. So I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
Yeah, 1 out of 5.
That's that's fair. Jim, I think this is a cause for celebration. Because we might be hitting a new record here. Because I'm also gonna give this movie a 1.
Wow. Okay, 2 1s.
2 1s. Because I'm in the same with you. Like there were some moments that made me laugh, but at the end of the day, I really, really did not enjoy watching this.
No, it was really not enjoyable, but like again, not really for us, you know.
Uh,
So I
and
don't want to like drag it through the coals too much, but I would give it a 1.
yeah, same. I would also give it a 1 too. And this is definitely a case where like I'm looking forward to that, way, way down the line when we get to, episode 100 when we could, defend and move rankings around because I feel like the Rugrats movie belongs down here with it.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure
Like
does. This is a
because
much better floor for this list. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. But yeah, so that is a new record for us with a 1 and a 1 combined, giving it 2 stars. It now breaks the record for the last lowest place movie, which was Planet of the Apes, that sat with a 3.5. So Jimmy Neutron is now our new lowest rated movie. Yes, whammy. I know. It hurts us too. I really thought this might have had a chance at the perfect 10, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. Um, so but hey, got a perfect double one. It got a bunch of snake
Yeah.
eyes from
Oh
the
man,
boys here.
really bad.
So sorry, Jimmy Neutron. Just know that one day in the future, the Rugrats movie will join you. Then we now turn our attention to next week. And I know you get very upset when we get to these weeks where I make you watch these dregs that I put myself through as a kid. And I'm sorry to say that it's going to continue.
Oh boy.
You're not gonna get back up to the top of the food chain for at least another week.
You're a monster!
Yes, I know, I am. 11-year-old TJ was all over. He was really trying to find himself thematically in these movies. So he was going all over the place. And next week's is another one that I will wonder if it's going to beat Jimmy Neutron or not.
Okay.
Because my hint for you is that somebody that had something to do with this movie is responsible for next week's movie.
Hmm.
We're leaving 2001 behind. This was our last movie for the year 2001. We're putting this year in the rearview mirror. We're turning our attention to an equally wild year, at least in cinema, with 2002.
Okay. Was it in our IMDb deep dive?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So it's got to be Kung Pao, right? Enter the Fists or whatever it was called.
Yes. We are
Oh,
watching the Kung Fu parody movie written, produced, directed, and starring Steve Oedekerk. Kung Pao, Enter the Fist.
oy vey.
Yeah, I was not a good movie watcher back then.
Yeah, I remember being really excited for this when it was coming out, and then I remember watching like the first 15 minutes and being like, actually, I'm okay. Like,
Well,
I'll skip it from here on
now
out.
now you're gonna have to bring yourself to full completion on this movie.
Oh no.
Dude, so to put into context of just how tough this one's gonna be, this is the first movie we're gonna get to that I don't own. I
Oh
don't, e-
wow.
I don't even
How
own
are,
this
how are
movie.
you ever gonna pull this off? Maybe you'll have to rent it like I do all the time.
I know I'm gonna have to shell money out to watch this nonsense somehow.
Yeah, you and me both, dude. Unless by some miracle in my girlfriend's DVD like book jacket thing, she's got Kung Pao into the
Oh
fist,
my
but I think
God.
that is a real
Imagine.
long shot.
She's like, Jimmy Neutron? No, not stupid. Kung Pao? Now that's right up my alley.
Yeah, it's Definitely not up her alley.
She's got a real niche market for like parody kung fu movies.
Yeah, no. I would be completely surprised if she did. Let me put it that way.
She's like, now you know, James. Now you know my secret.
I mean, it's over at that point. She can take the dog and the cat.
It's like I draw the line at Steve Oedekerk parody.
No, I draw the line of Kung Pao into the fist. But we'll talk about it next week. I don't want to get
Yeah,
into
let's
it right now.
save all that juicy goodness for next week. Do you have any good recommendations to leave the people with this week?
I know that we were just getting into a groove with the recommendations, but I'm gonna go a different route this week, and I'm gonna leave you with a clip.
Okay, all right.
His spirit is gone, but his stench remains.
Yeah, that perfectly surmises what we had to watch tonight and go through. But we did it for you people. Let us know down in the comments below if you were a fan of Jimmy Neutron back then, if you completely disregard everything we're saying is sacrilege. Jimmy Neutron still holds up in the nostalgia factor for us. Let us know it all down below. Jim, I know you weren't happy with me diving in on your recommendations last week, but there was a movie that I caught.
No, hold on. You can give
Go on.
recommendations. We just can't talk about them for 20 minutes.
We won't. No, we won't.
Show.
Because I don't want to give away any of the plot of this movie because I went in blind to this movie. I knew nothing about this movie.
Okay.
A friend of ours, Waters, said, there's this horror movie I want to go see. Like, what are you doing? You want to go see it? And I was like, what's it about? He's like, don't worry about it. Just come with me. And so I went with him, and knowing nothing about this movie other than the title this movie is incredible. I cannot recommend this movie enough. If you get a chance, watch the movie Late Night with the Devil.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say about that movie. It is fantastic. So get yourself out there. Go check that out if you can. Make sure to join us next week when we dive into the absolute Kung Fu classic, Kung Fu parody class. I think that this might be the only Kung Fu parody classic under the sun. Kung Pao Enter the Fist. But that'll do it for all of us here at Front Row Cinema this week. As always, until next time, we'll see you at the movies.